There's a brand new Zelda game coming out. Everyone around you is freaking out, and you don't know why. You've never played a Zelda game, but are interested in maybe finally picking up a copy of Tears of the Kingdom. But is it for you? Would you have any fun playing a Zelda game? The Legend of Zelda is an action-adventure game where you play as Link. The game gives you a sword and a shield, and then thrusts you out into the crazy world of Hyrule. You are the hero for once in your life. In every Zelda game, Link is the boy in green destined to save Hyrule. He is not Zelda. The Legend of Zelda is not really about Zelda sometimes. Zelda games have a lot of combat. You're going to be swinging the crap out of your sword and forgetting to use your shield. There are various overworld enemies to fight that tend to be a bit easier than some larger overworld enemies that tend to make you yell at your TV, and then mini-bosses that cause ulcers and stress, and dungeon bosses that make you question if you've ever played a video game before. But it's so much fun. Most of the Zelda games have dungeons that the player has to explore, fight monsters, and solve puzzles to complete. There's usually a specific item that the entire dungeon is based around, whether it's something like a boomerang or a hookshot. It's always a mechanic that opens up a whole new slew of puzzles and entirely new areas of the game for you to explore. Until Breath of the Wild, anyway. This game halfway threw out the concept of Zelda dungeons. There are still puzzles to solve and monsters to beat, bosses to cry your ugly cry at, but Breath of the Wild was a big departure from the original layout of the Zelda series. But why are we fighting things? We've already met Link, but now we need to meet Zelda. She is the princess of Hyrule. Back in the early days of Zelda games, Link's mission was to save the damsel in distress that is Zelda, and bring her back to safety to the castle. You know, the usual way these stories go, Princess Peach is always in another castle. But Zelda has something a bit special about her. She has the blood of the goddess Hylia. She is the mortal form of the divine being. There's like 3 pages of information on Hylia in the wiki, but to give you a quick rundown, it's Hylia's job to protect the Triforce, you know, the triangle thing that you see all the time, from evil. She is the being that stands between good and evil, as well as protects the land of Hyrule. So what's the Triforce? Well, that also has 3 pages of information. But basically, it has the power to grant a wish to whoever holds the Triforce, whether that wish ends up being good or evil. We find out in Ocarina of Time on the N64 that the Triforce has a failsafe. If an evil entity were to touch it, the Triforce would then split up into 3 pieces. The Triforce of Wisdom, which is usually held by Zelda, Courage, which is usually held by Link, and Power, which is usually held by Ganon. So he can destroy everything in his path trying to rule the land. This Triforce of Power gives him the ultimate power, which is why he's always so hard to defeat. The failsafe is put into place to stop the evil being, aka Ganon, from making his wish until he found all 3 pieces of the Triforce, which means he would have to defeat the 2 other heroes that the Triforce has fused itself to. Every game has an antagonist, some kind of monster demon thing that is trying to take over Hyrule. Your job is to embarrass the crap out of him by destroying him as a small child, or teenager, or however old Link is in the specific game that you're playing. This endgame boss is usually Ganon. He is the pure embodiment of evil. His plans usually involve capturing Princess Zelda since, you know, she's pretty cool and is literally part goddess, to keep her locked up and unable to use her godly powers while he goes about his day, causing a ruckus, trying to steal the Triforce and make the whole world the way he wants the world to be, which is usually just an incredibly awful ruined Hyrule full of monsters. His mission is always to collect the 3 pieces of the Triforce, make his wish, rule over everything. Simple plans, you know? Every game in the series has a different Zelda and Link. Both are humans that just run around their normal lives until Ganon or whatever enemy starts their evil plans. This activates a prophecy which changes the lives of normal Link and Zelda to become the heroes of legend. So, Ganon trying over and over again to stop the prophecy and take over Hyrule ends up being the reason that the prophecy comes true. If you could just chill out. I mean, we don't need redeads in Hyrule, just leave them be. That's the basic story. But why should you play? Is the Zelda series for you? While there's a ton of exploration and puzzle solving in the game that may satisfy the relaxing feeling you look for when playing a video game, there's also a ton of combat that can take a little bit to get used to if it's your first Zelda experience, but it's fun combat. It's not overly hard until you get to like final bosses or Lionels. Then it can take you a few tries to create a strategy through trial and error. Just start mashing the sword button until you get used to the controls. Exploring is probably my favorite part of Zelda games. There's always a brand new world with new characters and stories to experience. Even though the basics of the story stay the same, Zelda's captured by the antagonist, Link has to save her, etc., etc., the games don't feel repetitive. Each installment is a new experience and a new world. There's always new characters to meet from the surrounding Hylian species like the Zoras, Ritos, Gorons, and Gerudos. There are so many random NPCs just scattered throughout to talk to and learn about their lives. Even the random people on bridges are entertaining. Like every RPG, exploring is definitely worth your time. And there's like cool treasure chests to find, like how can you not want to find cool treasure chests around Hyrule? There's something satisfying about completing puzzles in this game. Many are pretty easy, but sometimes these puzzles make you feel so dumb for 20 minutes until you figure out what you have to do. When you eventually complete it, you feel unstoppable. Same with these stupid Lionels. They can be a pain in the butt to learn to defeat, but once you find a strategy, you're a god. These games feel good, they look good, and at the end of the day, they're fun. Zelda games are the perfect mix of calm and chaotic. One moment you can be enjoying the sounds of the landscape of the world, and the next minute a rock starts standing up and throwing its arms at you. Over time, the usual Zelda formula has changed a bit, especially with Breath of the Wild. While there are still puzzles to solve and monsters to fight, there aren't the usual dungeons to explore and new mechanics to find in treasure chests. No hookshots, no power bracelets, nothing. Just the runes you get from the Great Plateau tutorial shrines. If you're new to the series and want to go back and play older Zelda games, just keep in mind that the formula is a bit different. From what little we've seen of Tears of the Kingdom, this game seems like it's going to follow a similar formula to Breath of the Wild. The open world aspect of the game really has to dictate what the final product looks like. You can't have an open world game that forces you to go to one area to then follow a linear storyline. That's not open world. This is why the later Zelda games have a different formula than the earlier games, because now we have open world and we didn't have open world because of technology. The open world is good though. It's a departure from what we're used to, but it's Nintendo. They're usually pretty good at doing stuff like that. Part of the new formula are these runes that Link gets, which allows him to solve puzzles, damage enemies, and interact with the world. You can freely switch between the runes, which makes playing the way you want to play possible. Broke your good sword and can't battle the rush of bokoblins? Good thing you have bombs that you can just start checking at them to get them off your butt and cause damage in the process. You don't need to go back and play previous games to understand the story behind Tears of the Kingdom. Zelda games are really good at explaining the important information you need to know to understand the story that specific game depicts. There is a timeline that is fun to look at, but it seems like Tears of the Kingdom is going to mess with that a little bit. And again, it's not integral to the story to know all the lore. You've got Link, you've got Zelda, you've got Ganondorf, who is human Ganon. That's basically all you need. While it's not required to know the past, there are a ton of references that make the game really cool for those of us who've grown up with the series. Playing Ocarina of Time as a kid and running in and out of the Temple of Time and then seeing it all ruined in Breath of the Wild, that brought back some crazy nostalgia. Even Lon Lon Ranch ruins were a brutal reminder that childhood is over and life goes on. Why are these games so popular? Why does everyone freak out about a new Zelda game? Besides the fact that a lot of us grew up with the series, these games are just fun. That's it. If a game is fun, people will buy it. The developers always do a great job at coming up with new ideas, new mechanics, and new ways to make the 37-year-old franchise exciting with every new installment. Even though the story stays basically the same, it still feels new. If you're on the fence about whether or not to play Zelda, I say go for it. Whether you want to buy the new game or maybe you can find a cheap used copy of Breath of the Wild, it's a great time to get into the Zelda series. Sure, they're challenging, but it's incredibly fun. Even if you do fall down a cliff 4 times in 30 seconds. I don't know who would do that though. So get out there, find your green tunic, and start slashing enemies. Oh, and don't forget to hunt down the chickens. If you defeat them, they have a special treasure for you, so